Hello and welcome to Never on the Backfoot. A very warm good morning to all our panelists and the viewers who have joined us. Now, in today's weekly live show, we will discuss the blockbuster matches that has happened, this week at the ICC Men's ODI World Cup 2023, and we have very special guests joining us who are also ardent cricket fans. We have Arjun, who is a full-time finance professional and a two-time published author whose cricket-based fiction novel called Captain Khadoos garnered, rave reviews since its release in 2019. He's also an avid memer and a lover of sports, especially cricket. So make sure to, check out his book and his Instagram profile. Next, we have Prasanna, who is a wannabe full time sports fan who pretends to work as a full time software engineer. He's a YouTube content creator. He creates content mostly around Chennai and FC and Chelsea women. He watches a lot of cricket, football, and basketball all around the year. So, again, make sure to check out his Instagram profile for all the BTS and the fun stuff he does. Next, we have Ronak, just like the 1.4 billion Indians, has been a cricket fan since his childhood, and he got into the sports industry under the influence of his idols. It, of course, has to be Harsha Bhogle and MS Dhoni. No prizes for guessing why Dhoni is there. Currently, he's working in the industry as a sports presenter and content consultant. And out of his passion for the game of cricket, he has a startup called the Third Man Cricket Show. Again, they make amazing content, so make sure to check them out on Instagram and YouTube. With that said, a warm welcome to our panelists, and thank you to all the viewers who have joined us. You can share in your thoughts, comments, questions, insights, anything in the live chat, and we will address them through our conversation as well. Now, to just give context to our discussion, we'll be focusing on the matches that have happened since 20th October till yesterday's, Netherlands versus Bangladesh match. So now, without further ado, let's kickstart our discussion. Match 18, right? Australia versus Pakistan. Now, Australia rode back to form, by defeating Sri Lanka early on. And I think this convincing win versus Pakistan must have only solidified their confidence, right? And Pakistan, on the other hand, continue to look listless, and they're also, the face of a lot of memes at the moment, considering their form. So let's kickstart this discussion with Prasanna. What are your thoughts on the match? Because Pakistan won the toss, right, and they decided to bowl first. So do you think that was a good decision considering how the match actually panned out?
I thought it was not a bad decision to be fair because it's always a chasing. Bangalore has been a chasing wicket, but saying that, um, they didn't really start well, did they? I mean, Shaheen Afridi, one of his poor power play form is one of the reasons why Pakistan are doing well. Because whenever Pakistan do well, it's synonymous with Shaheen Afridi always taking 1 or 2 wickets at the power play. He took 5 wickets that day. But saying that, in the power play itself, the damage was done. And Australia didn't lose a wicket till like the 34th over. And when you see the start they had, I was thinking 400 easy because the way Marsh and Warner were going hammer and tongs. But they somehow lost their way in, and Pakistan still somehow, like, they did well to claw it back to 367, but still, like, I mean, when you're always chasing 360 plus, it's always going to be tough in any wicket. So had they started the way they finished, I think we could have probably seen a 270 chase, which would have been much easier because they still scored 300. So I think the pressure of chasing 360 and they lost their way and they got all out for 300. But I think the way, as I said, if they finished the way they started, if they started the way they finished the innings, like the way they clawed back, I think they would have had a better chance, to be fair.
Definitely, because I think any total in the excess of 350 is definitely daunting, right? Now, Australia scored 367, with Warner scoring that memorable 163 and Mitchell Marsh scoring 121, which is obviously phenomenal stuff. So, Arjun, how would you rate that batting performance by Australia, considering, the kind of matches they had in the lead up to this one?
It was a very dominating performance, I think. Especially Warner playing the way that he did, like the way that he did. I think the entire team also done pretty well. I think with regards to Pakistan, I think I'll just allude a bit to Ravi Shastri's comment about Shaheen Afridi, because people sometimes compare any player from India and Pakistan, like they kind of compare all the time. But here if you see, people like try to compare Bumrah and Shaheen Afridi at times. But the thing is that Bumrah is good at the start, at the middle, and the end also. While Afridi is good at the first 2 3 overs if he gets wickets, but he kind of struggles at the end. I think that is something. But I think Australia played really well considering the start that they had against us. Got them out for 199, and the way they're playing after that, I think it kind of shows how good we were on that day, and also after that also.
That is actually true. And talking about Shaheen Afridi, now he really stood out with his 5 wickets. But if you observe the other bowlers, they were certainly very expensive, right, with their economic rates. Now, the Bengaluru pitch certainly makes batting very conducive because you've seen shorter boundaries and the ball travels really fast. So, what did you make of it, Ronak? Like with everything that was panning out?
To be very honest, I mean, Shaheen Shah Afridi has not arrived in this World Cup. I mean, he took 5 wickets for sure, but that was the duration when Australia were going bonks and tonkers to make those extra runs in the end, and that is where he took his most of wickets. And I believe those wickets were not earned; they were given by Australia more. I mean, out of 5, maybe 4 wickets were given. Just that of the opening batter. I mean, I'm just not getting to recall his name. Who was the other one? But either of them got just me. I mean, he got the wicket of Mitchell Marsh. I mean, in the manner that he wanted, caught by Osama Mir or something like that. But other than that, all the other 4 wickets that he got was thrown away. I mean, Glenn Maxwell, first ball, he wants to come and tonk the ball. That is how he got the wickets. So I would say, as Prasanna mentioned, that Shaheen Afridi's power play a decent, makes that how Pakistan performs in the World Cup or in any ODI match. So his power play bowling has declined in this World Cup, or say has not arrived at all. That is why Pakistan is struggling, and also that in the death overs, he is not one bowler you can depend upon matches after matches. Also adding to that, Haris Rauf's form. I mean, both those two bowlers who were the stronghold for Pakistan till the World Cup or till the Asia Cup, I would say, uh, has not arrived at all. And Haris Rauf's struggle with those short balls. I mean, he has been challenged with his ego, and he is right now ego bowling, nothing else than that. So both those two bowlers, not just Sain Shah Afridi, but those two bowlers combined, I think has just derailed the campaign for Pakistan.
Definitely, and while they have these obvious frailties in their bowling, now when you look at Pakistan's batting as well, it continues to overtly depend on their openers and that middle order, right, to deliver. And that did not quite come through in at least these matches so far, and I think it even got reinforced in this match. So, Prasanna, what are your thoughts on this, problem that Pakistan is facing across their batting and bowling department?
I think they've got talent. They've like if you look at someone like Abdullah Shafiq, he is someone who's like I have a friend. I have a Pakistan a friend who's like work colleague, and he says Abdullah Shafiq is more like a bookish kind of cricketer. He doesn't try these fancy flicks and tricks and all, but he tries to score at a more brisker rate. But the problem with Babar Azam is he is scoring runs, but is he scoring at the rate that is supposed to take them to bigger scores? Or and even the problem because we saw against India, he got out at the wrong time. That started a collapse. Many games he gets out at the wrong time and not knowing when to accelerate. And he is a good batter, no doubt about that. But it's like sometimes his strike rate is a matter of question when to accelerate, when not to accelerate, and when your star batter, when your captain does not know when to accelerate, it filters down to the team as well. Even the team, they look very short of ideas. As even Ronak said, even that bowling Haris Rauf, he doesn't look the way he is. I feel he has dropped a bit of pace. He's not that 150 kind of bowler. He's dropped a bit of pace, and it's just the inconsistencies. Like no one is really like this. They're not gelling well as a team. They're not just gelling well as a team at this point.
That's actually true, and there were a lot of expectations when you think of Pakistan, right, coming into this World Cup. But somewhere, I think they're overawed by all the happenings, like off field and like on the field, things not working for them. But let's focus on our next match, right? Netherlands versus Sri Lanka. Now, this was a match I think everyone is quite looking forward to, as it was a replay of the ICC World Cup qualifier finals. And considering, the World Cup that Netherlands has had so far, we were, ready for another thrilling one, but that didn't quite happen. So, Arjun, what were your thoughts on that match? Now, Netherlands batted first. They made a competitive, 262. Did you think that was going to be enough, or Sri Lanka would get the better of them?
No, I think 230 didn't seem enough to me personally, considering that Sri Lanka is a pretty decent batting lineup. I mean, they are probably like not as strong as India is, but they are a pretty decent batting lineup. I thought 230 was not that much enough, and I was not that sure about their about Netherlands bowling, whether they could take that many wickets at that time. I mean, like in that match at least. So it seemed a little under par, I thought. But so Sri Lanka did well, and I think it was a good match for them also to get a bit of confidence.
Certainly, and when I think, look at Sri Lanka's bowling, due credit to them, it was top notch, right? They restricted the Netherlands batting, and they looked at ease throughout the match. Now we know Sri Lanka is missing a lot of key players because of injuries, yet they continue to make a statement every time they step onto the field. So Ronak, how did you like that bowling performance, and did that set the tone for the victory somewhere?
I would say yes, because 260 on that particular pitch, it was not going to be enough. They were maybe 20 runs short, if I would say, at Lucknow, because if you say Lucknow in IPL, it was a different pitch altogether. But Lucknow in World Cups has been completely different. I mean, runs are being scored at multiple races, or say I would say 350 should have been a par score at this ground, the way the pitch is behaving, and other teams are playing on it. So 260 was never going to be enough, but I would credit. And also, I mean, before I say about Sri Lanka's bowling, Netherlands batting, I mean, their batting top order hasn't arrived yet. I mean, the middle order does all the work, all the hard work for them, and somehow they are scraping on in those couple of wins that they have gotten in this tournament. I mean, we discuss about that for sure, but I would say their batting top order has to arrive to make a competitive total around maybe 300 plus sometime around. But their top four, if I'm not wrong, Vikramjit, Max O'Dodd, and the third one is what, Ackerman. These three have not arrived in this tournament, haven't made a decent contribution till now, and that is why their lower order, especially I mean, with Edwards, Basdali, they have to make all the runs in their lineup, and that is one area where if they can improve a bit, I would say. Obviously they won't qualify for the semi-finals, but they will make more memories in this World Cup for sure. And as far as Sri Lanka's bowling is concerned, yes, I thought that after losing Hasaranga, they might struggle a bit. But such has been Sri Lanka's case. I mean, they have 7 to 8 all-rounders in their side, and that is why they are not feeling that much hit. But if they become consistent, I mean, they would be a side to bit, but they are not that consistent enough to go around this fact. But right now Sri Lanka's bowling is looking well, and especially that Mastercard played by Angelo Matthews, I mean, suddenly he comes back in and the side looks more dangerous. So yes, we should look out for the bowling as well, especially in these conditions.
Definitely, I think conditions suiting them has augured well for them. And even doing a post-mortem of Sri Lanka's run chase, right? It was led by Sadira Samara Vikrama's 91, and that really helped them, navigate that chase. So, how impressive has he been, Prasanna?
He's been very good. If anyone has looked consistent in the batting, it's him and to an extent Patum Nisanka. They have been like the very good at the top of the order, and others have sort of a bit struggled around them. Kusal Pereira, like he's an attacking batter who is not really started off innings, to be fair. But again, going back to Netherlands, like again, the way they finished, like from 91 to 6, no one would thought they would be 262. And that itself was a tremendous turnaround. As if someone had actually stayed at the top of the order, they would have easily made 300. And if you look at how the way Netherlands bowled, I think they won only by 10 balls to spare or something like that. So maybe they could have made a bigger fist out of it. But saying that, I think Sri Lanka, they played the situation well. I mean, they knew what the target was in hand, and they just did what was enough. And when you know what is in front of you, it's more easier to bet.
That's true. And even looking at how both the teams ended up in this World Cup, they came through that qualifier, right? So many said that, hey, Sri Lanka is going through this whole period of decline, that they can't directly qualify for the World Cup and have to come through the qualifier. So considering that they're actually performing so well is amazing to see. And even Netherlands, on looking at them, the kind of World Cup they've had so far, the win versus South Africa and the continuous good performances and consistency they're putting in. I think a few losses here and there would not hurt them a lot because they obviously play the ODI Super League, which is now probably going to be scrapped off by ICC. But even with the less exposure, I think the way they're playing is quite impressive, right?
Yeah, it is. And when you look at them, they don't look a team, even if they lose, they don't look their heads drop. They always play with their heads held high, and that is what you want from someone. And we say that we don't expect them much to do it, but they still beat South Africa. I mean, there was not sure of the name, but he was delivering Uber Eats only 2 3 years back, and now he's beating South Africa 2 World Cups in a row. So that in itself shows the spirit of what the Netherlands are playing with, and we have seen them rise to a certain extent, but they have to kind of get to that next level, and hopefully by next World Cup they can keep making the next steps.
Definitely, I think the way they are progressing is, has been a like welcome step for everyone to see, and yeah, I think Arjun also brings this point of how Sri Lanka has bounced back well after the Asia Cup final as well. So Arjun, yeah, go on.
Yeah, so I think after that Asia Cup final, when Siraj actually bulldozed Sri Lanka, I didn't think that they would recover. Because that's a really psychological blow for them, especially in front of their home crowd being bowled out for so less. I think considering that they've bounced back pretty well in this World Cup, and I think I think it's I think it's pretty inspirational. The way that they have dealt with that loss, which could have been actually a long term kind of, it could have had a long term impact, but they kind of stemmed it at that time. I think it's important, as it was mentioned that Angelo Matthews came back. I think he's a really stalwart, like Sri Lankan player, and really important for their, for him and his experience to be there in the side.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, if we talk about Netherlands, they have been a side. I mean, they have been a very inspirational side in this World Cup, I would say. I mean, if we see their stories that has been going around, like one of them left cricket and then joined back after 2 years in the World Cup and hit 50 odd runs. I mean, these are the kind of stories that Netherlands has always put up. The only downfall is that they don't play cricket after a big series. I mean, post this World Cup, around 6 or 7 of them out of the 15 that they play, they will be going to the regular jobs, which might be of a lawyer, of a doctor, or of a delivery boy. In fact, so they will go back to their livelihoods or their jobs. They don't have a proper setup to play cricket 24/7 or say 365 days, and that goes on to say that if you even win one match in the World Cup, it is huge thing for you, and that is why Netherlands story have been always, has been always inspiring, and that is if they get some support from the ICC, and now they should, because they have made a mark in this cricketing world, that they are here to stay. I mean, they should get a decent amount of support to play 365 days of cricket, and not just with minnow sides. I'm not disrespect to any side, but not to the sides that they want to play. I mean, if they can get 1 or 2 odd series when teams like India or Australia goes to England, maybe a couple of matches like they play with Ireland, they also get to play with Netherlands. If that can happen, I mean, something can be worked around to get them the experience that they need. I mean, if that happens, then maybe Netherlands in the next World Cup will be also a contenders, not just someone who will enjoy winning 1 or 2 games.
That's true, and all hearts to Netherlands, right? The way they continue to inspire a lot of us, and I think Arjun also wants to bring a point up.
Yeah, I think here there are two teams which I would like to mention: Afghanistan and Netherlands. Afghanistan is, even though it's a test playing nation, at times in the ODI they don't perform as well as they do the T20s. But here I would like to say that Netherlands' success is far, I would rate it far higher than Afghanistan's success, because Afghanistan has a lot of infrastructure support from India also. If I'm not mistaken, they do have the practice matches in India. They have a facility in India even now. I think considering that, and their players are full time players. To the best of my knowledge, they are full time players, Afghanistan's players. So I think considering that, I would still think that that Netherlands success, I would, even though Afghanistan doing well, like it does feel good, but I still think Netherlands success, considering their manpower and everything, is far. I would rate it a little higher than what Afghanistan has achieved so far.
Definitely. And I think what makes cricket the beautiful sport it is that you have stories like this come, right? Like the Netherlands, the kind of struggles they've gone through to reach where they are, even Afghanistan to that extent, with all that's happening back in their country to, still play the way they are. Commendable stuff nonetheless. And coming back to our discussion now, obviously the South Africa versus England match is something we all are looking forward to again, because coming into this match, England certainly had a point to prove, right? The kind of World Cup they've had, unbelievable. These are your defending champions, and South Africa. You credit to them the kind of dominant run they've been on. But the loss endured by England was quite massive and certainly would dent their confidence to a great extent. So let's mix this up. I'll start with Ronak on this one. What are your thoughts on the match? And now, considering England won the toss and they decided to field first, and this is at Wankhede, mind you. Do you think it properly backfired for them somewhere?
Yeah, and before that, on a lighter note, I would say that the baseball did not arrive at all, right? I mean, they are going to play in India again, but they did not arrive at all. I mean, this is England's campaign. They thought that in India also they can go their way and do crazy things that they have done across the world. But it is not the same case, because you do not play on one venue, or say a venue which will suit your condition. One or the other venues might, like Dhamshala and all, but not all the venues. So you need to be aware of how you want to play on a certain kind of pitch, maybe a Chepauk kind of pitch, or say Eden Gardens kind of pitch. So if you are not accustomed to that and you want to play one kind of cricket that then in India you won't succeed. You might get a win or two, but you won't succeed in the longer run. But England's story has been fancy. I mean, before the 2019 World Cup, they were never in the context, and after the 2019 World Cup, they are not in the context. So that one patch that they have, they will enjoy it for sure. Even after the World Cup, if they go to Australia or say New Zealand, they will make a lot of runs and win games. But to succeed in India or the Asian conditions, you need to adapt, and that they have not been able to do as of now. And coming back to your question, if I would say yes, the toss was not that a bad call to take, because in Wankhede you definitely want to win a toss and elect to field first, most often than not. So toss was not a factor. It's just that it backfired highly on them, just because England does not have a bowling attack. To be very honest, they do not have a bowling attack at all. This I have been saying for last 2-3 years. They win their matches on the batting fronts, not on their bowling fronts. I haven't seen a lot of matches, maybe 1 out of 10 match where their bowling has done well, but without Mark Wood being on the top of his game, England has no chance of being a good bowling side. Adil Rashid does well here and there, yes, but I haven't seen him turning around matches on his own peril. This is what has been the downfall of England. So their bowling is nothing on paper for me, at least. The panel might differ, but England has no bowling attack at all, and that is what backfired, not the toss. Not the pitch as well.
Yeah, definitely. We will discuss about England's bowling in a bit in this conversation. Now, when you look at South Africa, right, they had a field day with the bat. Amassing 399. Just look at that scorecard. Lisa Hendricks, Rassie van der Tussen, you had Aiden Markram, Klassen, all of them scoring in bulk. And Marco Jansen, special to, top of that batting performance. There's certainly no looking back. And the chase was obviously going to be quite tough, right? So, Prasanna, what were your thoughts on like that batting performance? And there was no way England could make a comeback.
There was one way. If they could take the way out from Wankhede Stadium to the Marine Drive, that was the only way, because they certainly had no way in the game. And even if you look at their scorecard, none of them really took off. I mean, when you're chasing 399, you want at least someone to stay there. Look at that scorecard, like Johnny Bairstow at 10, then 6, 2, 5. I mean, Mark Wood and Gus Atkinson, to be fair, they at least made it less embarrassing at the end. Else they would have not even scored 150. That's how embarrassing England was. And the way Ben Stokes threw his bat after getting out just summed up their game, to be fair. And it's not what you expect out of someone who's defending their crown. I mean, Josh Butler, I think it was a tongue-in-cheek comment when he said we're not defending anything, but it looks like they were just playing without any confidence. And when they just started hitting, they always are saying in sport, right? It's not over until it's over. And if you let your head drop for a bit, it's gone. And I think that's what England were faced with, and they just never looked back afterwards. And I think their loss against Afghanistan, I mean, it just, I don't think they've recovered from the Afghanistan loss, to be fair.
That's true. I think they somewhere haven't still recovered from that loss. And just extrapolating on a point that Ronak brought in about England's bowling, right? I think that has always been like a spot of bother for them, something that has always kind of brought them down. So, Arjun, what did you make of England's bowling in that match? And even through the World Cup, right? We haven't seen very impressive performances. We see Reece Topley's injured. So, somewhere things not really working well for them.
Yeah, I think to be fair to I mean, my interpretation is that their mind is not like their mind is not here. Uh, as always, they're making excuses about the air quality in Mumbai and stuff like that, which I found a little amusing. I mean, and also in Dharamshala when they played, it was like the outfield is wet and stuff like that. I mean, some problems are going to happen. It's not like the last World Cup in England, like there weren't any problems. I mean, more than pretty much half of the World Cup was under the influence of the weather, like under the rain and all that. So I mean, I think they're not really into it. I don't think they had an intent, like really intention of fighting it out also. Um, but I mean, the way they really underperformed has shocked me. I thought that they would be somebody, somebody who would, at least give a bit of a fight. Considering their strong batting lineup, at least I thought that would at least do a bit well. But I mean, to be honest, it was like I was a little shocked to see them underperform. And South Africa has been for me the surprise package in this World Cup, considering everything that is going on within their cricket, all their internal struggles and all that. I didn't think that they would perform as well as they have. It's refreshing. They're playing like the South Africa that I watched growing up. South Africa was a very good team when I was growing up in the 90s and the 2000s. So that is pretty good. South Africa is a popular team relatively, especially in India. So seeing them do well yeah. I mean, like it looks good also. And also just one bit of trivia. I think England South Africa on the same day they had the Rugby World Cup match also on the same day, and South Africa won both. They won in rugby and they won in cricket also. So I think that and South Africa, Temba Bavuma, like had also mentioned that when the South African team is doing well in rugby, the cricket team kind of they flow under the radar in a kind of a way. So yesterday South Africa won the Rugby World Cup. Now everybody's going to be looking at them. Now you have to perform kind of. So I think now it's kind of crunch time for them.
And even historically, right, South Africa has held this tag of jokers. So I think this World Cup can be a time to shed that tag once and for all, and really even remove that tag of dark horses and actually qualify for the semi-finals and maybe see it all the way through the World Cup. Now, Ronak had also mentioned that although England's bowling has been like quite disappointing, let's use that word. Even when do a post-mortem of their run chase, none of the batters really stood up, right? And that was like a big letdown. And I think a true marker for like a defending champion team is if they can continue that same performance in other more challenging conditions. And somewhere, do you think that pressure of chasing a total that was that daunting certainly, played with their psyche and resulted in them folding for 170?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that sort of target always plays on your mind that we need to go from ball one, but you forget that Virat Kohli side of chasing the score. I mean, you can break down the innings as well. That was what was missing in their part, and that has been missing in their part for a longer time. And they started to play baseball. They don't, especially build the innings. I mean, they have players who can do that if they are given the freedom. I mean, Joe Root can do that, Johnny Bairstow can do that, and to an extent, Ben Stokes can do that as well. Those three batters will have to take the major responsibility of building an innings. Other batters can play the baseball they want to play, but these three batters will have to be given some sort of responsibility, some sort of freedom that you can go and build an innings in ODI. You have enough of time. In Test matches, baseball might work. In T20s, baseball might work in all conditions. But in ODIs, the baseball does not work like that. So I mean, more than the batters not arriving at all, it was more the way they wanted to play the innings. I mean, if they had played an ODI innings like I mean, we would discuss more on this how New Zealand did it. But if they had done it like New Zealand, they might have a better chance to chase it down, and they have the batters to chase it down for sure because they bat till number 9, 10 or whatever. I mean, they could have done it. They have the talent, they have the capability, just that their mindset is stuck onto one template of going about the business. If they give the freedom to Joe Root and Johnny Bairstow, just those two players, I mean, their campaign will be back on track. Not that they will qualify for the semi-finals. I would say they will at least start winning the matches that they should win the matches. I mean, this should be their template going forward. That even today when we play them, I mean, we'll discuss more about it. But uh, those two players, at least Ben Stokes, I mean, depending upon the situation, but those two players, Johnny Bairstow and Joe Root, they should be given freedom that build innings, construct innings, and then see what happens around the other batters.
Definitely, and I think at this halfway stage of the World Cup, the kind of performances England has put up, I think qualifying seems a little out of question. But at least to salvage the rest of the tournament, I hope they can, figure out some of the issues they've had. Not today versus India, however, but maybe against the other remaining encounters they have. But let's now focus on the next match. We have New Zealand versus India, right? Now, I think any amount of reviews is not going to be sufficient because this match was hyped up so much, right? Table toppers, squaring off against each other, coming in with their pristine 4 out of 4 wins. And the history, that the two teams also shared at ICC events was always going to weigh in. So let's start with Prasanna on this one. What were your thoughts on that match? Do you think it was an easy, comprehensive win for Team India? Were we challenged across any front?
Um, After 20 years, the victory felt bloody sweet. And that's the only thing that we all cared about. Win at any costs. I don't care how it comes. Be it by 1 run, be it by super over, be it by 50 runs, I don't care. I just wanted the win. And yes, we were challenged. For first time, I think in this World Cup, I think we saw lapses in fielding. We dropped 2 catches. That is not what you see of this Indian team. And but I have to credit the way Mohammad Shami bowled. That was his first match in the World Cup, and I feel him and Bumrah are two bowlers that um, they can come back after how many ever number of games, then they can still perform at that level because the quality is that. And for Shami, 5 wickets, it just summed it up. He was superb. Our death bowling was superb. We only conceded like 54 runs or 50 something in those last 10 overs when Darrell Mitchell was scoring century. And I think that was a fantastic achievement in itself. And chasing 270-ish, it was always going to be tough, but we somehow made it at the end with contributions from everyone. And that's what they always say, teamwork makes the dream work. And everyone contributed, and that's how we won it.
Certainly, and putting this match more under focus now, within the first 10 overs, India had managed to, get rid of the openers, which was great, right? But that's when Rachin Ravindra and Darren Mitchell, stitched that commendable partnership. They helped New Zealand, sail through that tricky phase as well. So, Arjun, I'll direct this question at you. How crucial do you think that partnership was? And somewhere they were negating the Indian bowling as well, right?
Yeah, it was. I think that was a very good innings by them. Like that partnership, especially because if I remember correctly, there was one LBW review which was taken. I forgot by whom. Like an Indian bowler, like we taken a review, and that was overturned of Rachin Ravindra. I think that time it would have been around 34 or 30 odd for three, but that decision was overturned, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they built the innings really well, considering how well we bowled at the start, and it was a competitive match. I don't think it was an easy win by any way. Though we batted well, we bowled really really well, and considering the strength of the batting lineup, and even though we were scoring runs well, the Kiwi bowlers were bowling well also. There were many times when Rohit Sharma and the other batters, like they were beaten off the bat, by I think Matt Henry, who was bowling very good outswingers and everything. So, but that being said, it was a very good psychological boost for us that finally that 20th thing is out. Like we always tease Pakistan that mocha for 8-0 and all that. I think silently New Zealand had been saying mocha to us for the last 20 years, and we didn't even realize it. But it felt great. I mean, this to me was one of the sweetest victories of this World Cup. Beating them finally, and it does not change what happened in 2019, but it makes us feel that we can beat them when the time comes.
Exactly. And as an Indian fan, I think all of us were just so happy, to see this victory. And what made the win sweeter was our bowling as well, right? Now you had Shami who was coming back. He picked a fifer, and then Kuldeep also, playing that excellent second fiddle as well. So, Ronak, how impressed have you been with the Indian bowling at last through this World Cup, and especially, with everything that's going?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, by far the most well-rounded bowling unit. I'm not, maybe I would touch wood right now, but by far the best bowling, all-round bowling attack that this World Cup has seen has been by India and to an extent by New Zealand. I mean, India may be a little bit higher than that because they have the variety in the squad. I mean, I would say Hardik Pandya's injury, though we want him back soon, but his injury may have been a blessing in disguise that we got to see Shami as well, that he is ready and he is ready to go and fire out there. So if maybe in the next or next after, I mean he is not available for Hardik Pandya is not available for tomorrow and they and the match post that is South Africa, I guess. So those two matches he is not available. Post that he would come back and maybe he'll make in the 11 again, but I feel that Shami now, because he's tested for 2 or 3 games, will be very, very confident going forward that we can be, the best bowling side. We have the best backup. So for as far as bowling is concerned, I feel pretty relaxed as an Indian fan. I mean, a cricket fan, because I could not have said this for India in a longer time. But I mean, Shami is a curious case. He does not play around the year. I mean, in ODIs, if we see specifically, he might not have played 4 or 5 games in coming to the World Cups, but he gets selected somehow, and then he does this. This has always been the case, not just this World Cup, but the previous World Cups as well. So this is a very interesting thing about Shami, as Prasanna also mentioned, that he comes in the likes of him and Bumrah, just makes a comeback and then delivers. This is a quality of high class. I mean, I do not know how to judge them, him or Bumrah. I mean, they are just absolutely world class. Siraj has been doing well for India in the past 2 years. He has been leading the pace attack in the place of Bumrah and Shami to an extent. But Shami has been that bowler who can take wickets in those crucial junctures at the start of the match or in the middle overs where we lack. Where we used to lack, but thankfully Kuldeep Yadav is back and he is picking wickets for us, and that has made our job a lot easier in the middle overs because in ODIs specifically, it is not about how your power play goes or how your death over goes. It is about how you control your middle overs, because that phase of the play is almost 30 overs of play, and how you pan that out is the most crucial thing. And Kuldeep Yadav is the main orchestrator over there for India, and he has been bowling decently well to guide India for those victories and taking those crucial wickets. Even if he has been hit for runs, I mean, in the last match or against New Zealand as well, he was hit for a couple of runs, but he came back and took crucial wickets. So that is the confidence that he has right now. And if it goes all well till the end, I mean, till 19th of November, I would say yes. So we have done a decent job, but yes, India's bowling, as far as I'm concerned, has been the best all-rounded bowling attack.
I think Arjun also
Yeah.
wanted to bring up a point, yeah?
Here I'd like to just state one point about Hardik Pandya's like his injury. I think when Hardik will come back, I still think that uh, Shami should be maintained in the team. I don't I don't know at times why Shardul is preferred over other players. I mean, I know that his 10-20 runs with the bat may seem valuable at some time, but you have to also consider that Shardul is pretty expensive as a bowler. His 10-20 runs with the bat which he can potentially get are kind of negated by the same amount of runs which at times he may give away as a bowler also. So I think having Shami in the side will probably make our batting look a little weak on paper, but I think it's an attacking approach, and if we have him in the side, I think it's great. I think we have to. I think sometimes we forget that Shami's been in the side for such a long time. He made his debut in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, against West Indies. 2011, yeah. I think he's a champion bowler. I mean, I think Ronak had also mentioned, um, between Shami and Bumrah, I also can't choose because I'm a fan of both actually. And he's done really well. 2015, 2019, both World Cups he performed. 2015 he had a knee injury, but still he did as well as he did. With the injections he was playing and all that. That shows his commitment also. So I think Shami should be there in the side. Though at the starting, Siraj was a little bit hot and cold, but I think now he's kind of. I think the occasion got to him. I think at the start, but I think now he's done really well. And also one thing about the Indian bowling lineup is even though the batters or the opposition team would have a go at us, even like in the Bangladesh match, they had made 100 for nothing almost, but still we can claw our way back. That is really important. We don't let the middle overs. I think Ronak also made a very important point. We don't switch off in the middle overs. Middle overs are a time I think when certain teams can at times switch off also. We don't switch off and perform well at that time also, and we can claw it back also. Especially in the last 10 overs, you have really clawed it back. So I think it's really important, and I don't want to be too optimistic. I don't want to get too you know too upfront and all that. But things are looking good, but a long way to go still.
Adding to what Arjun said over here, I mean, about that Shardul Thakur might give away 20 runs in his bowling and then make those 20 runs in the batting. So it negates that thing. But at times, I am also very critical of Indian management. But right now, I would get that mindset why they are doing so, why they are promoting Shardul Thakur as well. Uh, it is just because of the mindset that he brings in. I mean, for example, you are 150 for six down. You have KL Rahul and Hardik Pandya or say Jadeja batting. And suddenly they have an additional pressure that you do not have anyone in the bowling lineup who can bat a little. So that mind game, which we talk about, which we don't talk about a lot often, I mean, it plays a huge role. For example, if they are six down and you have a Shardul Thakur in the lineup, you still have that mindset that I can go for those extra boundaries or extra risks that I can take in my batting. But when it is Mohammad Shami, you do not think about that. You want to play safe, and that is where you might give away those wickets. So, uh, though I'm a very huge fan of Shami, I mean, I want him in my 11. But I do get the point of view that Indian team management has been pushing for it. I mean, uh, why they have been pushing for Shardul Thakur. Ashwin, yes, he's a precarious question as well, but I do get why they are pushing for those 20 runs, because that is not about I mean, will he bat or not? It is about the mindset that he brings in for the batters before him. They still have that mindset that I can go for a couple of boundaries or sixes and take my time and risk a few shots. That is where team can go from 220 to 280 and 220 to 250. That 30 runs might make a difference in the game, especially when you are batting first. Chasing, I mean, it might not impact that much. It will impact for sure, but not that much an extent when you are batting first. So yes, in both the situations, I mean, though I stand to be very critical about management's decision most of them than not, but this time around, I get their point of view for sure.
Definitely, and I think through our conversation we've been speaking, so nicely about the Indian bowling and how that's working so well for us, firing across all cylinders. For a long time, India's bowling has was a concern, but now we see how they're really standing up to the occasion. So when we just focus on the batting as well, now you have Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill, giving those electric starts, especially Rohit Sharma, and then you have Virat Kohli, who's literally been the backbone of this Indian batting for far too long, and this World Cup also, with his performances, he has reinforced this belief. So, Prasanna, how happy were you to see, Virat Kohli again contributing to the team's cause and really, seeing us through?
It was superb, and we all wanted this version of Virat for a long time. And the fact that he's been on a um, excellent run for all this while, it just one small bit though he couldn't get to his century, but that's the only small bit of uh, the only if you want to call it a con and what was a superb win, but it was helped by Rohit Sharma's start. I mean, that's one thing that we have seen him do something new, is that go after the bowling from the first. We always say attack is the best form of defense, and that's what he has shown. Shubman Gill was a bit tentative. I mean, for every 3 dot balls, he would score a boundary to make it equal, make the strike rate a bit equal. But and even Rohit Sharma to an extent, we did face a bit of trouble with Matt Henry taking the ball away at the start. But overall, I think we negotiated that period very well, and his starts is what is getting us to where we are. Like we always get start like 70 for no loss or even 75 for no loss while chasing, and when you're chasing something like even a 270 and 70 for no loss, you already have 40% of the game in your back, and it's about the others have to continue from there. And not just Kohli, everyone made a contribution. Shreyas Iyer made a good contribution. K. Rahul made a good contribution. Jadeja made an excellent contribution. So everyone contributed, and that's how we won the game. So with Kohli and Rohit Sharma being the center of it, which is what we want, our two best batters, and that was just superb.
Yeah, so here I'd like to just state one point about Virat. There is, like people use a lot of terms for Virat, intense and everything. But there is one term, I'm not sure if it's been used before for him, meditative. Virat looked meditative out in the middle to me. Whether it was versus Australia, whether it was against New Zealand, the guy could not, he was intense. You could see that he was intense, but he was in a trance. I could see something that nothing is going to distract him from his mission right now. That is something which I've not seen in Virat ever, and I've seen him since he made his debut. So I think that is something, and I think Rohit is playing a role similar to what McCallum played for New Zealand in 2015. But though McCallum would play 20, 30 or 50 maybe and get out after that, but Rohit is somebody who's building on those starts also. I think that is really, really important, and it's really good. I mean, Rohit Sharma is unfortunately trolled a lot for his fitness or lack of it. I think this would, I hope, kind of quieten down his, critics as of now, because his captaincy, the way he's batting, is absolutely brilliant, and he's playing a captain's block every time pretty much. And also a point about KL Rahul coming back from injury. I think I'll be the first to say that I've been very, very critical about KL Rahul, especially when he opens the batting for us. But this time again, I would say that that same calmness which I saw in Virat, I'm seeing the same calmness in like in KL Rahul, and it feels great. The whole team kind of gelling together at this time. You also see the post match, the fielding awards being given. You can see a kind of camaraderie which is there, which at times I thought was not, maybe would have been there, but after the 2019 World Cup there was a kind of fracture between the time, like between the side, I thought. But this team seems united, and united for good, I think.
That's true, and this is a home World Cup, and having your batting and bowling department doing so well, and the team even bonding like off the field is certainly is welcome things to see. And we will talk about India a little later on in our in this discussion as well. Let's now focus on another match that was Pakistan versus Afghanistan. Right now, Afghanistan had never defeated Pakistan in a World Cup, and considering the past few matches we've seen between these two sides, again, we were all like glued to the screen to see what is going to happen. And because we were expecting a cracker of an encounter, and I think it kind of did live up to the billing as well, because Afghanistan pulled off this spectacular win. I will not call it an upset, because Afghanistan has been that team that any win they secure is not going to be an upset any longer. It will just come across as a win, right? So I'll start with Ronak on this one. What are your thoughts, Ronak, on this match? Because 282 by Pakistan didn't seem enough, given the conditions and how they could have somewhere accelerated and tried to get a score past 300. So how would you rate that batting performance?
I'm in Afghanistan in Chennai. I mean, what more they can ask of? That was if one pitch they wanted to play in their dreams, it would be Chennai in India. I mean, that is one pitch their spinners would thrive. So yes, that match was made for them, and beating any side in the world right now for Afghanistan should not be called an upset, as specifically mentioned by you, because they are one of the sides who has shown great jump in their international stature. Maybe a little bit help from India as well, because they have played all their cricket till 2020, if I'm not wrong, in India. I mean, Lucknow and Delhi, these were the pitches where they played most of their
Noida.
international games. Noida as well. So these are the 3 or 4 pitches where they have played their all the cricket in the international stature that they have played. So yes, they have quite an experience, and playing in India and winning those matches does not surprise me at all. And if I talk about Pakistan, I mean Pakistan on any other given day in any other part of the world, they might have defeated Afghanistan, but I feel like that this match was made for Afghanistan to win. Pakistan not being in that a good form, their bowlers not arriving in this tournament. Everything was caught up till this point in time, and then Afghanistan, just made a cake out of it. I'm not taking any any points from Afghanistan on playing that fantastic match, but just that Pakistan, to be very honest, are a very superior side in my papers as of now, are a very superior side. But just that they have been not being able to put the right man for the right job. They are not being able to gel their team together. The third point, a second point was mentioned by Prasanna as well. Third point is that a lot of criticism has been going towards Babar Azam, and that has depleted his form to an extent, to that extent that you know all the other teammates, all the other batters are also affected by that, and that is why they are not being able to make those crucial runs which on other day might have made. So I would say this match in all contexts, I would say Afghanistan clearly beat Pakistan, but Pakistan were not playing on that day. It was Afghanistan playing against a side, and Afghanistan won the match.
Exactly. And I mean, if you look at the discourse around this match, many people made it all about Pakistan losing rather than Afghanistan actually winning. And that's what I want to bring this point of Afghanistan's batting, right? It was, I think, next level. They did not lose a wicket for like a very long time in that run chase. And somewhere it felt like that perfect template, that they were actually taking each phase of the game to, eventually reach that target. So, Prasanna, how did you assess that run chase and how impressive was that?
I thought it would be a tough one because generally in Chennai, chasing to anything about 280, 250 was always going to be tough because of the pitch slowing down and whatnot. But the way Afghanistan batted, Pakistan never looked like even taking a wicket. That's how good Afghanistan were to an extent. And again, Shaheen Afridi's opening power play bowling, he has been poor. All other bowlers around him, Hassan Ali, I mean, they bought him back. He's been taking wickets, but he's been giving runs for fun. Harris Rauf as well has not been the same, but cannot take anything away from Afghan batters. I mean, Rahman, Gurbaz, Zadran, even when they got out, Rahmat Shah and Hasmatullah, they just took control, and they just knew what they were doing, and they at no point they look like they were in danger of not chasing. That's how comfortable they look like. And if you look at when how Pakistan took South Africa till the last wicket, and they couldn't even do that against Afghanistan. And that's the thing. The least you expect is fight. The least you expect is take it till the last. And Afghanistan just absolutely shattered it everything. And one of my friends actually went from Bangalore to Chennai just to see this match, and he was telling me that it was absolute scenes there in the crowds. And as you said, this cannot be called an upset because Afghanistan have slogged their way out to this, and you never know. They could be a closure for the semis if they actually win their games, which is a definite possibility.
Certainly. And now, I think through our discussion as well, we've been talking about things that have not been working for Pakistan that has led them to reach this stage. So, Arjun, now, do you somewhere see Pakistan actually salvage their campaign and make something out of it? Because I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want to end a World Cup on like this note, right? Somewhere we saw that they were the number one ranked team in ODIs, and then the Asia Cup happened. A couple of series later, we saw the World Cup warm ups as well, and now this. So somewhere do you think Pakistan can actually salvage and make something out of this World Cup?
Um, no, here I think it may be a little difficult for them. Considering I think one thing about Pakistan. I've been watching them for many years. Pakistan was a team which I used to fear growing up because they were one word like related to Pakistan is intensity, which they really had, and they're really lacking intensity. I think people say that they're the best when they're wounded and all that, but that '92 World Cup was different because Imran Khan was a different kind of captain, a different kind of person. I'm not sure whether Babar Azam has that kind of like he may be a good leader behind the curtain, but I'm not sure whether it comes across that much as of now. Yeah, so that is something which also his batting. He scores good 50s, 70s, 80s. In this World Cup, he not scored a century yet, and also the rate at which he's scoring his runs. It does not really, the opposition may not panic as much when he's scoring that much. Also, with regard to the Afghanistan Pakistan match, what what I really admired about about Afghanistan was their calmness while chasing. I thought that they would kind of panic a little bit, but there was no panic at all. Even when they lost that one wicket, I think they went from 2 wickets to 3 wickets. Shine Afridi took 1 wicket, I think, and then also there was, I think after that the captain came out to bat, like Afghanistan's captain, and then also there was no sense of worry or panic or anything. They kind of went about their business, even though the run rate, even though the required run rate kind of went up a little bit. They did not. There was no sense of any issues on their side, and also I didn't understand why the spinners were brought on when they were like last 5-6 overs were remaining. Pakistan, like Babar Azam got on the spinners. I think the fast bowlers they were bowling pretty well. I think after that wicket fell, I thought that they had a kind of an idea that they have a chance. When that third wicket fell, I thought that they had a chance of coming back, and I was on the edge of my seat. But a great thing about a run chase is if you can make a run chase boring in a way. I think this is something. Don't take it as a insult or something. I'm not meaning it as that, but you make it predictable in a way. Like you take 5 singles and you hit a four, without knowing it, you already scored 9 runs in an over. That is something which I thought Afghanistan did really well. I don't know, maybe they had a chat with Virat Kohli on how to you know build a chase and all that. But it was really great to watch. And again, I think Pakistan they lack the intensity. I don't see them coming back in this World Cup as we at least the way they're playing right now and the kind of sound and the kind of indications that are coming from Pakistan that they're going to take action and stuff like that. These things should not be said during a World Cup. It does not it does not help. Yeah, I mean, it's just building fear in a team which is already, I'm not sure, has their mind in the right place in the first place, in the first stage itself. So yeah, I mean, Pakistan has been a shock to me. I thought that they would do well in this World Cup, at least reach the semis and all that. I was kind of afraid of an India Pakistan semi final match. and the implications of that. I don't see that happening now. So it's kind of yeah. I think they're on their way out now.
Yeah, I mean, Pakistan looks like that wounded tiger, that's
Yeah.
probably going to take some time to actually figure out what's not working for them. And hopefully
And
they come
also just
back
one more
stronger.
point. This
Yeah.
one more point. The next match is versus Bangladesh. They I can't imagine the implications of them losing to Afghanistan and Bangladesh both. I mean, Bangladesh match is going to be in Calcutta, and no, I can't imagine. It is going to make heads roll in their cricket board definitely if they lose that match also.
Yeah, fans will absolutely go berserk and throw all those
Absolutely,
TVs out of the windows. It's going to be an
absolutely,
absolute chaos if that were to happen. But let's see.
absolutely.
Let's keep our eyes peeled out for that match as well. And till our other panelists join, let's continue
Yeah,
our
yeah,
discussion. Now we have South Africa versus Bangladesh. So South Africa has been having a golden World Cup, as we've
yeah.
been talking through our discussion as well. And this win versus Bangladesh really didn't come as a surprise, at least to me, because well, they've ticked all their departments, like all the boxes, and all the departments seem to be firing as well. So, what were your thoughts on this match? Because the kind of outing they had with the bat again, scoring 382, and further, they were able to skittle Bangladesh for like 233. It did not seem that hard. It felt like a very clinical win in that sense. So, what are your thoughts on how that match transpired?
I think Bangladesh did salvage a bit of pride considering I think Mohammedullah had scored a century in that match. So he had scored a century in that match if I'm not mistaken. So see, they were going to win. There was no doubt. I think Bangladesh is also another team which is not having their mind in the right place, and it's like I'm not sure. I mean, Shakibul Hassan again. He flew back to Bangladesh and he came back and all that. So something is not right. I think as of now in their team, but this is something which they have to figure out. I think Bangladesh has been a really underperforming side last so many years, considering that they have test status and all that, and every time they win, they make such a big fuss about it. But they are really underperforming, and they have to do something. Uh, you know, Domestically, or I don't know what they have to do something about it. Maybe a change of coaching, a change of personnel, and all that. But that being said, I think Mohammedullah has been underutilized and lower down the order perennially. I think ever since I remember watching him, he's been batting down the order, which is that is not his place. He should bat at least five is the lowest that I would say that he should bat. But still, considering his century, I think they kind of salvaged a bit of pride over there. But it was no contest. I think.
And when you think of Bangladesh as well, the kind of squad composition they had, we had a lot of expectations that, they would perform a certain way. But with all the off-field drama, even before the World Cup started, now, they're not quite able to translate that performance also on the field. So, Ronak, what do you think are some of the areas that Bangladesh can actually work on for the coming games and at least end on a respectable position this World Cup?
First of all is team building. I mean, they don't look like a team right now on paper or as well as in the squad as well. If we see, I mean, Bangladesh is not affected by their players. It is by the politics that has been played. I mean, I don't not know to what extent can we discuss that over here, but in the mix of before the World Cup, what we have seen, one player was brought back by the prime minister of the country and then he retires, and then one player who said that I will never take back captaincy and he is been handed the captaincy. So a lot of things has been transpired into Bangladesh cricket, and the current captain said that if this player is in the squad, I will not be playing this World Cup. And I mean, if I can say the name, Sakib Al Hasan said about that about Tamim Iqbal. So if this sort of things happen just before the World Cup, I mean, to expect them to do good, I mean, if they do good, if they do well, will be a surprise. I'm not surprised by them not doing well in this World Cup just because the way their campaign has been before the World Cup, maybe for around a year now. I mean, the way they have the politics has been played in the country. Uh, Besides that, if I say about the squad, the players that they have a very good mix of players, very very good, very bright talent that they have. And just the selection. I mean, why did you not play Taskin in an India game? I'm not. I was surprised by that decision as well. So a couple of decisions made by the team in the World Cup is also questionable. Besides that, their squad looks decent on paper. Looks a squad. I mean, this is not a very different squad from what they had in 2019. It's just that Shakib Al Hasan was too brilliant in that World Cup. 600 plus odd runs, wickets in the middle overs. This year he has not come up in the World Cup. I mean, all the scores under 20, under 30, and not too many wickets to name the few. But that I think because he has not been the front runner in this World Cup, Bangladesh has been struggling because he is one person like we used to say for Sri Lanka in 2019 World Cup was Angelo Matthews. If Shakib Al Hasan could have done well in this World Cup, Bangladesh still would have a good chance in beating couple of sides. But right now, they look shattered. They don't look like a team, and that is why they have fallen apart. Especially their batting to an extent. Mahmudullah, of course, we'll discuss more about that. I mean, he made 111, but that was stat padding. I mean, that was the match was over by then. I mean, when he was in 50s or 60s. Post that, he was just making runs for his. I mean, why not? I mean, if you are at the hindsight of your career, I mean, just maybe 1 or 2 odd years left for Mahmudullah. If you are at that phase of career, if you can make runs for yourself, for sure, go for it. But it looked like it was stat padding and that he was just making runs for himself at that point in time. And Bangladesh has no hope or had no hope in the chase throughout. So that is what has been the case for Bangladesh throughout this World Cup. That their batters did not arrive. Their bowlers did a decent job, but batters did not arrive at all.
I think over here also Bangladesh have to think about the future because Mohammedullah, as like as Ronak correctly mentioned, has like only maybe a couple of years left. The same with I would mention Shakib Al Hasan also. Shakib is 36 now. I don't know whether he'll play the next World Cup or not. I mean, considering the shambles that they're in right now, with Shakib in the team, they have to think about where they would be when Shakib is eventually going to retire. I mean, nobody plays forever. I mean, Shakib is going to retire sooner or later. They have to find somebody. I think they're trying to groom that Mehdi Hassan. I think his name. Yeah, they're trying to groom him as an all-rounder. But whether he is of that stature as that level of Shakib is something which has to be like which only time will tell. But I think the main problem with Bangladesh is the temperament. I think on their day they are good, but when the tides are against them, they never find a way to fight it back. Like claw way back. That is something which is very worrying for a test playing nation, especially, which makes me wonder as to whether Bangladesh was given the test playing nation and test playing status in 99 World Cup after they beat Pakistan in that like it was an upset. But it makes me wonder sometimes whether it was too early, whether they should have been like given a bit of time to find their footing and everything in this cricket world. But they've been given it now that like that can't be changed. But they should think about the future. I think if I were a Bangladeshi fan, I'd be worried about their cricketing future. Yeah.
That's actually true. And Bangladesh, pegged as one of the top teams in the subcontinent after, say, like India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. The way they're deteriorating is certainly not a sight that any cricket fan would want to see. So here's hoping, they can figure out some of the combinations and look at, their future also in the same way they're looking at their present and not make the same mistakes. Let's, carry forward our discussion with Australia versus Netherlands, right? Now, after the back-to-back wins versus Sri Lanka and Pakistan, I think Australia has not looked back since. I mean, this match versus Netherlands was nothing short of an absolute annihilation, and them announcing we have arrived and we're here to stay. I mean, imagine this is a 309-run victory in a World Cup. People almost ask me if this is a test match and did they like declare an innings or win, because that margin is like unimaginable in like limited overs format. So I'll start with Ronak on this one. Ronak, what are your thoughts on the match? And what do you think worked really well for Australia that, just led them to this massive, massive victory?
Well, if you are an associate nation or say a minnow team, then if you want to play Australia, play them before the World Cups, not in the World Cup. I mean, if you play them before the World Cups, you have a chance because before the World Cups, they make you feel like they are out of form and they don't have the players to do the job. But they go on to win the World Cups post that like they did in 21 before their. T20 World Cup campaign, they lost to Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and all. And in this World Cup, they were losing to almost all the teams leading to the World Cup. So, I mean, if you want to play them before the World Cup because Australia will not kid around you in the World Cup for that matter. Especially if you are an associate nation, then thank God. I mean, I do not recall a game where Australia had an upset. They lost because equally balanced side was playing against them, and they played better on that day. Maybe that was the reason. But I haven't seen an upset kind of thing with Australia till now in my cricketing history. If I'm not wrong, one or the other odd might have happened, but not to an extent that Netherlands kind of side would beat Australia in this context. So I was not surprised this was going to happen, even if Australia played the third match of the tournament with them after losing two games, they would still have beaten maybe by not 309 runs, but at least 209 runs for sure. So I'm not too surprised why Australia did so well against Netherlands. I mean, talking points, if I would say, it was definitely, to an extent, the way Warner is demolishing all the records in the World Cup history for Australia. I mean, right now, what he has six World Cup hundreds, if I'm not wrong, tied with Sachin, and just one behind Rohit Sharma, if I'm not wrong. So these are the records that he has made for himself. But the major talking point was Glenn Maxwell. I mean, that guy is a mad guy. I mean, though he has not performed that well against all the sides, but the day when he performs, whether it's Netherlands, whether it is Afghanistan, whether it is England, if that guy gets an eye for maybe three or four balls or five balls in a match, then I mean, thank God. I mean, it was not India. I mean, it was Netherlands. We can say thank God, but. Maxwell was the major talking point, though Warner also scored a century, and bowlers did really well over there. A couple of wickets by, if I'm not wrong, by Adam Zampa, who took three or four wickets, if I'm correct. But Maxwell, I mean, he is that guy who will give you everything: batting, bowling, fielding, and if you give it a thought, then he is the leading spinner for Australia in this World Cup. He definitely bowls at least 5 overs every match, and if Adam Zampa have a bad day, then he bowls 10 overs as well. So Maxwell is one of those guys for Australia. I mean, he just goes out. What Watson did used to do, I mean, Maxwell is doing the same. Just that Watson used to bowl what if we could say that pace. I mean, for me, he used to bowl spinners as well. But if he say that was the only difference.
Definitely, I think Maxwell was that absolute X factor and the turning point for Australia in that match. Because after that, I think Netherlands had pretty much decided we'll pack our bags, we're done with this match. Because I think any total that's like in the excess of like 350 and all is difficult, right, for the associate nation teams. So Arjun, if you had to like put in perspective what went wrong for Netherlands, I mean, of course, the psychological. Thing of chasing such a big total. But besides that, what happened with Netherlands that caused them to crumble in such a way? A lot of things didn't work well, right?
I think it would have been Australia's intensity on that day. I think Australia are a different animal in the ICC tournaments always. You know that. So I think Ronak made a very, very brilliant point about that. When they come to ICC tournaments, especially against a minnow team, they're very, very ruthless. Which reminds me of a meme which like which circulates. So in Doom 3, if you know that movie, Amir Khan had played a double role. So Amir Khan had that, like he's playing two twin brothers, and then suddenly he changes, and that his like everything changes. So I think Australia is a bit like that when it comes to ICC tournaments. So I think I'm actually kind of worried if we meet them in the semis or something. I just hope that we don't meet them in the final when we do. I hope that like we get to the final, but. Australia is dangerous, and I think Netherlands could not do anything on that day. I think nobody could have probably no associate nation team could have done anything significant on that day.
And I think Australia is one team, right? You just can't tame them for too long because you know they will come back stronger. And I think this match was a perfect example of them, announcing that we have arrived and, we're going to stay here for long. And that brings me to another interesting match, that is England versus Sri Lanka, right? To add more salt to the wounds of England. Now, Sri Lanka brought their A game, right? They destroyed England, notching up another special win. And I think another interesting facet is how they've not allowed England to win like since 1999. And many were looking forward to this match to see, something different happening. So I'll start with Ronak on this one. What were your thoughts on that match? And somewhere did you think, like before the match started, that England was nowhere in the picture to actually pull off a win, or was Sri Lanka looking like much better on that day?
I mean, the master stroke was bringing in Angelo Matthews. I mean, he is one of the players who has been doing decently well for Sri Lanka. Maybe not consistently that well, but in major situations, in crunch situations, when you need Angelo Matthews, he is always there for you. So, I mean, Dasun Sanaka is a great player for sure. I mean, as Indians, we know him better than any other side in the world. I mean, but he did to us in that India versus Sri Lanka tour, where he was scoring 50s for fun. But he was not in that great form of late, and that is why Angelo Matthews, comeback of Angelo Matthews in this World Cup has made a slight change, and that has provided a very good balance to you. Uh, that is why I feel that this is how this team has been built. I mean, Sri Lanka thrive on their one player who can control the dynamics of the team, and that is why when Matthews took that first wicket in that match of David Malan, if I'm not wrong, till then England was doing decently well, around 40 odd runs without a wicket. But since Matthews took a wicket post that, they something clicked all of a sudden. Before that, I think England were doing well for themselves, but post that something clicked in Australia, and they just rounded back because the celebration after that wicket. If you can recall, I mean, I vividly remember that the whole squad came into a huddle and celebrated like anything. That was the wildest celebration that I have seen of Sri Lanka in this World Cup, and that said that now the team is looking like a unit, and that is why that click of Angelo Matthews is the biggest highlight for me in that match. The second thing is, of course, Sri Lanka's bowling has been decently well, but England failing in a batting first kind of scenario was something surprising for me, because while chasing, if there is a huge target, they might falter because they know one way to play. But while batting first against a decent bowling lineup, I mean, falling to an extent that they were bundled out of 150 odd runs, that was the surprise factor for me. Not that Sri Lanka did well, but England faltering in batting first situation. That has not happened for a long, long time. So, I mean, for sure, Sri Lanka as a squad is back in this World Cup, and I wish the best for them. But seeing the chances of England right now at the bottom of the table, it looks quite bleak that they would advance to the next stage.
That's actually true. And, I think through our discussion, we have spoken about how England has not had a lot of things working for them, the over dependence on batters, and in general, the bowling also not firing. But in this match, Arjun, who impressed you the most? And did you have any like standout moments that really stayed with you?
No, I think just I was actually kind of surprised the way Sri Lanka won. I didn't. I thought that that would be one match where England would kind of turn around. But considering everything, it was something. I still don't know how to react to that, because I'm somebody who Sri Lanka is a team which I follow also. But the way that they played on that day was really really amazing, and they like there were no hiccups also in their like no major hiccups in their match also. It's something which I think again uh, uh, Angelo Matthews coming back, he brings a bit of stability, a bit of maturity into the side. It is something which that like the side really needs. So this is something you know Sri Lanka is doing well. So I don't see them going to the top four and then the semis, but At least that much they played played pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, at least a decent campaign, if not a qualification for the semi-finals, is something Sri Lanka will really savor and move on with that positive as well. And I think this week featured some very interesting results, right? So that kind of brings me to Pakistan versus South Africa because just see this, right? It almost took like 20 odd matches this World Cup to see a close game, and this was an absolute thriller because till the last few overs, we didn't know who the winner could be because both the teams were looking like on par to pull off that victory. But then South Africa literally pulled off a win from the jaws of defeat. Because Pakistan, you could see the whole intensity, the enthusiasm on the field. It looked like they were going to win. But South Africa, with their cool and calm demeanor, really did that. I think with this loss, it is more or less clear that Pakistan is out of the semi-final run chase unless some mathematically astonishing thing happens and they can make it through the semi-final. So I'll start with Ronak on this one. What were your thoughts on the match, Ronak? Like, were you like glued to the screen watching who could win this match and finally a close encounter on cards?
Yes, absolutely. This was the match that this World Cup needed badly. I mean, till this match, all the matches were like, okay, it was okayish. I mean, the team won, the team lost, sort of things. But this match was the booster that the ICC World Cup needed. I mean, if I can vividly remember Haris Rauf bowling at 150 to Lungi Angidi, if I'm not wrong, and then diving forward after completing his follow up to take that catch. I mean, that summed up for me that how badly either of the sides wanted to win this match, because a fast bowler charging in it for 150 delivery and then diving forward to take that catch was the highlight moment for me in this in that match, or say in this World Cup as well. So yes, that match was something else. I mean, high on energy, high on excitement. Both the teams needed, not both the teams, but ICC needed that kind of a match to happen. And kudos to South Africa, man. I mean, what if this kind of situations happen with South Africa ever again, or say before this, we would have said that Pakistan would win, because they are known to be absolute, I know the word that we use for them. I mean, for the first time, if I can recall correctly, I mean, they have gone across the line, not being taken as chokers, but they have now actually crossed the line. So felt really good as a cricket fan. I mean, the cricket fan in me wanted this kind of match, that it goes till down the wire. But I have a question for you right now. I mean, reversing the roles for just one moment. Was that out or not of the out that was given? That was a criticized out of Maharaj, if I'm not wrong. Maharaj, or it was it Tabrez Samshi? Pardon, Tabrez Samshi. Was that out or not? That dismissal, which should have happened according to me, to naked eyes, it looked like it was out, but the decision was reversed, or say was not given in favor of Pakistan. So what is your thoughts on that? It created a lot of controversy.
Definitely, I think it did create a lot of controversy, but I thought it was out as well. At least, like when I first saw it, it did seem like that. But cricket is a funny game, We often see situations like this where you see controversial calls in like crunch match situations like this. I'd also like to take Arjun's take on this dismissal. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed out to me, but as they say, umpire's call is final, so I won't argue with that. But yeah, I mean, that match was really, really exciting, and especially the last run when like Keshav Maharaj won. The number of memes which came out were unbelievable. I think it really showed how glued the people were to that match. For a non-India match, for people to actually watch it, I think maybe I think two crores people may have watched. I'm not sure about the number, but for a non-India match, so for like so many people to watch it was really amazing. And also, one thing about South Africa's chasing, even though they won the match, they were hitting a lot. It was not a. It didn't seem that composed chase to me all the time. Like how Virat, like how to me, to me a template for chasing would be India versus Australia, the first match. Especially that would be a template for chasing for me. because especially we saw KL Rahul played in that match. He didn't hit a single shot in the air till the last, till the match was in our bag actually. Like these guys were hitting shots, they were getting out caught and everything, which was kind of you kind of think that somebody should talk to them about how to probably maybe after the World Cup, not during the World Cup. And I hope they don't take those notes now. Anyway, sorry, but the thing is that it was like you were on the edge of our seats for that match because of the way that they were playing. They were going for shots and everything. If they would probably get a bit of composure, I think that luck went in their way a bit because of that LBW. But still, I think they held their nerve, which is something which South African like cricket team at times has a difficulty to do in crunch situations. But I think still, I think well played to them, and Maharaj especially holding his nerve at that time was really great.
Yeah, I mean, we could see how the viewership was really soaring through that match, and for a non-India game to see that kind of support and like viewership was phenomenal to see. And even at the end, right, you could see how much the win meant. Like Keshav Maharaj with the celebration, and the team also looking in jubilation. I think it really meant a lot to them. And cricket loves to see games like that, especially a platform like the World Cup, right? You'd love to see matches like that. And now, moving on to our next match, that is Australia versus New Zealand. The trans-Tasman rivals taking on each other. Another close contest for us to witness. A stunning run fest. And here, I think Australia's dominance and good form continued, right? Because they put on a big total yet again, and they were put on the burner by New Zealand through that run chase as well. But eventually, we saw how they could defeat New Zealand by like a very, very minuscule margin of 5 runs, which is, as a neutral fan, also quite heartbreaking for New Zealand because, again, a case of so close yet so far. And Jimmy Neesham's tweet of, don't follow sports kids, just, bake and die like that would be applicable here. So I'll start with Arjun on this one. What were your thoughts on the match, Arjun? Like, as I've said, the match was hyped up so much, and Australia, winning this in that fashion. So, what did you make of the match?
I think it was a very entertaining match. I think New Zealand played really, really well. Initially, I didn't expect whether they would, at least actually give a fight to them, but they actually did. I think their entire batting lineup also. I think Rachin Ravindran also scored a century. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was something which he's been the find of the tournament for them. I think his batting, his bowling. He's somebody who they should really nurture and really develop in the future because at such a young age he's showing like such a level of maturity which is really really unbelievable. I think still Jiminisham again kind of sad for them, but it was a when I was following the scores. Initially, I was not watching the match. I was just following the scores. I thought Australia would score 400 plus, but I think New Zealand was able to pull it back in the end. And then, I think New Zealand did as well as they could. I was supporting New Zealand. I mean, but still, I think Australia held a nerve, and in the crunch moments, Australia does play the way they usually do in ICC tournaments. So yeah, I mean, still, it was a very very good match and good for the tournament also.
Definitely, it wasn't one sided, considering you're again chasing a total that massive. New Zealand gave that fight, which is remarkable to see. So, Ronak, obviously, this was a high scoring match, but what did you make of the Dharamshala outfield and any other major talking points you'd like to bring up?
Dharamshala mostly has been a high scoring ground because of the altitude that they bring in. I mean, if you stand at one end of the ground, you won't see the other end of the ground. If I'm not wrong, the other side of the boundary you won't see. So if you hit a ball in the arc, then it goes for a six or it travels because of the high altitude over there. So high scoring match was not a surprise for me. The way New Zealand approached that high score target was a surprise because. I mean, I have seen New Zealand do crazy things, but not, chasing a target of 380 or 370. They haven't done that more often. I mean, I cannot recall a moment where they, went this close with a target of 380 around runs. So I believe that was surprise package for me. Other was the way Pat Cummins batted. I mean, 38 odd runs, if I'm not 38 or 48 odd runs of 14, 15 balls. I mean, he as a batter has arrived in this World Cup, but he as a bowler, which is needed by Australia, hasn't arrived in this World Cup for sure. I mean, Pat Cummins, because he's the captain of the side, he is playing the squad. For me, if he was not the captain of the side, he would have been dropped for sure. I mean, he is not been bowling at all for in the ODI formats, at least for at least around now 1.5 years. He has not been performing that well. One odd performance for sure, but not to that extent. So Australia's bowling department has been under the radar. I mean, they have done decently well in the last 4 matches, but I would say still their bowling is very under par. We talk about the the quartet that they have. I mean, of Pat Cummins, not quartet, but now triplet, because they do not have the flexibility right now. But of Stark, Pat Cummins, and Hazelwood. If you see these three players, you say that they have a very good bowling side. But right now, all the three bowlers, Hazelwood to an extent has been economical in all the matches, barring this match. But other two, Stark and Pat Cummins, has been off and on the gas. So I would say they Australia, though in the ICC World Cups, are always the favorites, but right now I don't see them as the favorites. Still, though they have won 4 games, but they have won it courtesy their batters or all rounders to an extent, not because of their bowling. So they are one of the sides alongside England who are very much dependent upon their batting, because their bowling is not turning out that great. So for me, that has been the highlight point for Australia in this particular match. And New Zealand, of course, for sure, Rachin Ravindra, as Arjun mentioned, that he is one of the highlights of this World Cup for New Zealand and world cricket as well. The way he has mastered his innings. I mean, he made 100 in what, 40 or 45 odd balls. He just eclipsed his record from the previous match that he made 100. I mean, the fastest 100 ever for New Zealand in a World Cup, if I'm not wrong. So that is what he has been doing for now, and that resulted in New Zealand almost reaching to the target, falling by 5 odd runs. I was watching the match closely, and in the end, it was like not the 20th over, because 20th over 19 runs against Mitchell Stark, still you back Mitchell Stark to defend those runs. But the over previous to that, which Pat Cummins, I'm assuming, was bowling. But yes, Pat Cummins was bowling. 2 dot balls in the last 2 balls, and Nisha not on a strike on the first ball of the last over, was the game-changing moment for me. So that those 3 or 4 moments was has defined this match for sure for me.
Definitely. And, again, we were coming into this match thinking, did Australia, win those matches just like that? But I think a performance like this really puts them in good stead. And as you rightly pointed out, I think it's their batting that is, really held forth for them in spite of their not so great bowling performance. So it will be interesting to see how Australia fares in the rest of the World Cup as well. And, taking our attention to the next match under focus. Is Bangladesh versus Netherlands, right? Now, somewhere I think here Bangladesh's philosophy of we're here to upset, not to win the World Cup is really coming through, because it was such an unflattering outing versus Netherlands. Because we've seen how Bangladesh can be the team that can pull off those wins, but I think Netherlands really gave them a tough competition. So kudos to the orange team for doing that. So Arjun, I'll start with you on this one. What were your thoughts on the match? And did you before the match think that Bangladesh stood a chance, or was it going to be an easy Netherlands win?
I thought Bangladesh would win at the start of the match, but the way they went about the business, very very unflattering, very very disappointing for them. Um, Again, I think we had I think touched upon this, but they have to seriously consider their structure, their team, their internal dynamics. They have to think about these things, because I think Netherlands has scored, I think, 230 or something, right? They scored 230, right? I mean, that is something which, considering Bangladesh's decent batting lineup, something that they should have easily like overcome. But again, I mean, Bangladesh is another team which I don't know. I mean, what is happening with them? There is something not right within. Before the tournament, they had Tamim Iqbal's issue and all that kind of stuff. So I think they somebody should get this group, make them sit down and tell them that there's a time for conflict and there's a time for coming together. There is conflict management is something which is, I think, really required for them, and frankly, I don't see that happening as of now. I think the World Cup is over, according to me. But you know, it's really sad, and considering that Bangladeshi fans are so passionate about the game and all that, I feel sad for the Bangladeshi fan. But they should really get their act together if they want to be considered as a major cricket playing nation. Such performances should not be looked upon very easily back home for them. I think they should take really, really strict, tough calls regarding the future, because, as I said, Shakibul Hasan may not be around for the next World Cup for them, considering his age and everything. They have to really, some hard thinking is required from them.
Definitely. And while, we spoke so much about Bangladesh not being able to get a lot of their things right, I think due credit has to be given to Netherlands, right, for putting up a performance of this nature and actually pulling off that win. And I think a win of this nature gives them a lot of confidence as well. So, Ronak, how do you look at it from a Netherlands POV? And next, they have important matches also coming up. So, a great win.
Yes, absolutely. This is by far the most dominant win that Netherlands might have in their career against a top team, or say a test playing nation, for sure. Not a top team right now, but a test playing nation. So I would say kudos to them. I mean, the way Edwards have been leading them is pretty phenomenal. I mean, uh, he is one such player who can do all the jobs for you. I mean, as a captain, he is doing really well, marching his bowling troops. He has been gluing the side together for this World Cup. He has done that decently well. As a wicket keeper, he guides his bowlers well. Uh, so all the departments, I would say, it was a huge. I mean, the credit, if it goes at all to one person, then it should right now go to Edwards, that the way he has led the side. But apart from him, the two standout players for me in this World Cup has been, I mean, Paul Van Mikaram, one, and Logan Van Beek. Also Bas Lee as well, of course. These two, three players, especially Paul Van Mikaram, the way he has been bowling for Netherlands in almost every match, not just this match. This match he took 3 or 4 wickets, if I'm not wrong. But in almost every match, he is one bowler. Like Rohit Sharma depends on Jasprit Bumrah. I'm not comparing Bumrah to Mikaram, but Rohit Sharma depends on Bumrah to come back and get those wickets. Edwards is backing on Paul Van Mikaram. I mean, he did decently well in CL T20, all the other leagues around the world, doing well for his international side for a long time, and now, I mean, IPL should look at him because he's one such bowler, because his ball hangs up a little bit in the air and then skids off the pitch. That sort of bowler is very, very lethal in this part of country, and say in India specifically, in subcontinent specifically, is he could be very lethal. And if IPL gets a window to get him, I'm not too sure if he was picked in the IPL, but uh, teams should look at him right now and say that this could be my, if not the first choice, at least the backup bowler for me, for sure. Because if I pick my top 5 pace bowlers right now, Paul Van Mikaram would be in that list for sure, considering all the other teams have very huge names in their squad. So Paul Van Mikaram has been the highlight factor for me, for this whole World Cup for Netherlands, and he has been doing really, really well for the side. So I believe that player, and specifically the lower middle order of Netherlands, Paul Van Mikaram, Bas Lee, Edwards. The middle order of Netherlands is the best in this World Cup. I mean, if one of the best, if not the best, for sure. So Netherlands, huge kudos to them, the way they have played their cricket in this World Cup, one, and two, the way Edwards have led them. These two are the highlight points, and might be the highlight points of this World Cup as well. And the third, they are not complaining of the outfields a bit, because they are one of the best fielding sides in this World Cup, with an efficacy of around 85-86%, which is the highest in this World Cup. So this two, three things, doing the basics right, has been the highlight, and Netherlands has been killing it.
And it's very heartening to see your team perform this well, stringing those good performances. And I hope in the IPL we get to see some of these players, because we know how a sweet IPL deal can really ensure they can focus more on their cricketing career than their primary occupation as well. So here's hoping, fingers crossed, to see a lot of them in the IPL as well. And now, we have almost reached the end of our discussion. We've discussed all the matches of this week, and we had such brilliant points. So let's, do a quick preview of the game that awaits us in less than an hour and a half. We have India squaring off against England, right? So again, these two teams share quite an interesting rivalry as well in ICC events, and most recently we lost to them in the T20 World Cup, right? That's how, or at least Star Sports is projecting this match, like Badla and like all of that. So I'll just, the question's open to both of you. So are you excited about the game? Any key matchups and predictions at large? Open to both of you.
Sure, I mean, who will not be looking at an India game in the World Cup for sure, but the excitement would have been higher if England had performed well. But the excitement is not that high, and that might come back to haunt us. Maybe I'm not saying that it might India might lose. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I mean, India have to be very cautious. They should not play the way England is playing right now. They should be playing the way India is playing right now. If we focus on how we have been playing till this in this point in time in the World Cup, we will definitely win for sure. And the second thing is, if we play on how England is playing, we might have a case in our hand. So for me, I mean, I'm looking forward to this match for sure. Especially, I want to see how some of the loopholes that we still have is one of Surya Kumar Yadav. I mean, not beating around the bush, he has not been the best in ODI formats as of now, and he will get at least one more chance. This is the second chance that he's getting, and one more chance in this World Cup, because Hardik Pandya is not there. To be fair to him, I mean, he has gotten a lot of chances in leading to this World Cup, more than any other player could have gotten in ODI formats, and he has not performed to his potential. I mean, we all know that what kind of potential he possesses, but he has not been performing. So I want to see if that situation arises, how he performs, if that happens at all. And the second thing is, England, though have lost a lot of games leading to this match, they're still a very good side, very decent side, and they have, uh, if on paper, if we discuss, then they have the strongest side. And Lucknow is not that pitch what we saw in IPL. This is a run scoring ground right now. 350 plus is the par score as of now, and England would fancy their chances if in any ground they want to play right now. It is Lucknow right now, and they would want to make their case stronger, at least to end on a high. And at that place also, the second part is, I would like to see India bat first and set totals and then win runs, because right now we have been chasing and winning. And if situation arises in semi-finals or knockouts, I would not want to see on that front, because India has not been that well while setting a target and then winning the matches. So I would like to see if India wins the toss. If the toss is in our favor, then I would like to see that India to bat first for sure. And if I talk about, uh, I mean, if you have seen or not, I'm not too sure that Virat Kohli, talking about the matchups that he won for him, is Adil Rashid and Mark Wood, the video that came out. So I'm also excited for how Virat Kohli faces those, because in recent past, Virat Kohli has not been up to his mark against England. All the other sides for sure, but against England he has struggled a little bit, and I would like to see him get his best against England as well. And Rohit Sharma is doing decently well. I mean, we do not need to say anything to him, apart from that daddy hundreds that he normally does. If he can get one of those, very good for us before the tournament goes into the final knockout stages, because Rohit Sharma's 40s and 50s at a quicker rate has been doing really well for us. But right now, what we want to see is he goes on to that, make 50, and then go on to make 100 and 150 that we are very fond of seeing. If we can do that in one of the odd matches before the knockouts, then I would be very happy. If this match, for sure.
And Arjun, we'll
Yeah,
hear from you as well.
yeah. So for me, I'm so like I'm a little bit different in this. For me, India England to me is a very very big match. Because every time we lose to England, many things are said to us, by them, and it kind of spices things up a little bit. So for me, India England is, for me, it's the biggest rivalry which tend to follow. It very closely followed by India Australia. So I think Ronak mentioned a very very correct point that even though England have underperformed in this World Cup, they're still a good side, and we should not look at their form. We should look at their side and the potential that they have. I think it's a very very good batting lineup that they have, and I agree and I agree with Ronak that we should bat first. I think we batted second, and we can do well in a chase. But now we should bat first and get. I love that term that Ronak has used. Which daddy 100. I think it's high time that Rohit Sharma should get a 150, maybe even make more than 264, which are done against Sri Lanka. But I don't know. I mean, let's see. But yeah, I mean, it'll be great to see him, score those big hundreds again.
Definitely, we have a lot to look forward to, and England is one team we do not want to write off. So here's fingers crossed for a great match, and hoping India wins. And yeah, that pretty much does conclude our discussion as well. I'd first like to take this opportunity to thank our panelists for joining us today and sharing some remarkable insights. Like, you added a lot of value and nuance to our conversation. Although Prasanna isn't here, it was great having him on board as well. And I'd also like to thank all our viewers, who watched us live. We look forward to seeing you in our future shows as well. And we will be doing a live of this nature every Sunday at 11 a.m. With cricket fans like this. So please make sure to follow and subscribe to, Never on the Backfoot on Instagram, on X, and on YouTube here as well. And we also have an audio podcast on Spotify. So do check that out as per your convenience. There, we are doing more analysis of the India matches specifically. And yeah, that pretty much does conclude it. So bye and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.